Yo, what's up, snipers, and welcome back to our Minnesota Wild GM mode. So, we're here in the postseason for the first time in 3 seasons, I think it was, and yeah, we're basically up against a team that we've played multiple times in the playoffs in round 1, especially the St. Louis Blues. Now, their lineup looks pretty much the same as what it used to look like way back in those days, except for their defensive core is now a lot weaker than it used to be. So we might actually have a chance to beat them. And during the regular season, they finished ahead of us, so it looks like in points. We're a pretty even team, so we actually got home ice in the series too, so that's good. One thing I was actually curious to know, I didn't set any of the captains. I had the computer set the captains, and for some reason, Larry Souray has been designated as our captain, even though he's only like a 21-year-old, and he's not the greatest overall-wise. I don't know if it's just because of his leadership qualities or what, but he's our captain. Granlund's our assistant, and Dumba's our other assistant. So, there's all the jersey numbers if you guys want to know for any other reason. I don't know why you would, but whatever. So, I think we have a pretty solid team that we might be able to make it, since we made basically, we didn't squeak into the playoffs since we had a really good month of March and an okay month of April. We might be able to make these playoffs even farther. We might be able to get to the second round. If we get here in the first round, that's all I would need to. But let's not waste any time and get into game number 1 at the XL Energy Center. Our first playoff game for a lot of these guys. A lot of them are just coming into the NHL. So first playoff game of the season. First in 3 years in Minnesota, first period, and we got the goal, and it's Isaac Lundestrom on the 4th line, scoring his first playoff goal, beating Evan Fitzpatrick, and it's 1-0 us. Shots are 15-6 in favor of us too. Second period, and we have a 3-0 lead. Bruce Ruchin with his first ever playoff goal, and Eric Fitzgerald, not Evan Fitzgerald. Who's Evan Fitzgerald? Oh, that's the goal. Wait, no, that's Fitzpatrick. Evan Fitzpatrick and Eric Fitzgerald. Oh, geez, I'm going to get that mixed up. But Eric Fitzgerald, our pick from last year's draft, comes through, and it's 3-0 Minnesota going into the third, and we're heavily out shooting them, and Richie's going to score to make it 4-0, but Shorts answers right back for St. Louis. It's a 4-1 game, and Kilger's going to score his first ever playoff goal. Wow, a lot of the players are coming through here. 5-1 us here in the opening game of the playoffs. We're out shooting them by triple almost. We're getting a shit ton of shots, and we win 5-1 in front of our hometown crowd. So what a first game for a lot of these guys. So here's a look at the stats. So Lundestrom from Fitzgerald and Kilger. So Fitzgerald actually had 3 points in his first ever playoff game. Now that's a way to make a statement. Ruchin from Kaprizov and Richie, Fitzgerald from Kilger and Lundestrom, Richie from Dumba and Granlund, and Kilger from Fitzgerald and Dumba. Nicely done, boys. 3 stars. Kilger gets first star with 1 goal, 2 assists. Fitzgerald gets second star with 3 points as well, and Lundestrom gets the third star with 2 points. So that 4th line is what carried us to the victory. Very nice job, 4th line. Our depth might come through. Okay, on to game number 2. I'm not going to waste any time and get into it as well, considering we just won 5-1. Hopefully it continues in game 2. First period, and it's another scoreless period. I think we had scoreless period last game as well, but they're outshooting us heavily, 13-4. Let's just get back in this again, guys. Second period, and there you go, 2-0. Kaprizov and Kilger. Nicely done, boys. This young team is coming through. Considering Kaprizov is like a veteran on our team and he's only 27. There you go. Richie makes it 3-0. Our offense is showing in this first series. I can't see us losing this game now. Last 5 minutes here in the third period, and they're going to score a goal. Tarasenko pulls them within 2. Last few minutes, and we're going to take it 3-1. Another really good defensive game, and our offense also showed up. So Kaprizov from Granlund and Richie. And first line's been great. Kilger from Dumba and Fitzgerald. So another point for Fitzgerald. 4 points in 2 games here in the playoffs. And Richie from Kaprizov and Granlund. 3 stars, Corson, Richie, and Kaprizov. Wait, this is Corson's actually his first playoffs as well. Because, yeah, the last time we made the playoffs was before we acquired Corson. So, you never know. Corson might be a really good playoff simulator and not that great of a regular season simulator. So, he could be lights out here. Hopefully, he wins us a Stanley Cup coming seasons. Okay, game 3. I almost said second game. Game 3 here at the Savas Center, I think it's called, in St. Louis. First period, nicely done, boys. Again, getting that opening goal. Kirill Kaprizov continues to play great on that first line, and it's 1-0. Second period, and it's still 1-0 us, and we're still out shooting them 26-20. Let's just lock it down here in the third. Play good defensively, and there you go. Bear Schultz picks up for his first ever playoff goal as well, and Kaprizov pulls up another, and it's 3-0. Going into the last 10 minutes of the game, Dexter's going to score his probably first ever NHL playoff goal to get St. Louis back within 2. But the last 5 minutes, winding down here in St. Louis, and we are going to take a commanding 3-0 series lead. Nicely done, boys. For our first ever playoff series with a lot of these guys, it's pretty good. Kaprizov from Glendon, Richie, Schultz from Kunin and Patan, and Kaprizov from Dumba and Richie. So that first line still seems to be the main cause of our offense. It was the fourth line in game 1, but since then the second line has came through with a bunch of goals. Let's go on to game 4. Let's just take a look at the player stats actually. Well, we're not going to actually go into the player stats fully. We're just going to see who's leading us in points. And that's Nick Ritchie, who's got 6 points in 3 games. I think he's also in the last year of his contract. He might not be a guy we bring back next year. We might not be able to afford him with all our younger kind of guys that need contracts first. So we've only allowed in 3 goals in 3 games. So Corson actually has been really good to start off his playoff career. Let's see if we can sweep the Blues here, guys. That would be nice. First period, and we have a 1-1 game. So Luke Kunin gets the first goal, and then Nikita Soshnikov is going to tie it up at 1. Shots are 14-11 in favor of us. Second period, and we have a 2-2 game now. Dexter makes it 2-1 St. Louis, but Hodges picks up his first ever playoff goal as well. And it's a 2-2 game going into the third. This is our closest game yet, and the most goals Corson's allowed in a playoff game so far in his career. We're halfway through the period, and it's still pretty even power play. We don't score. Last 10 minutes here. Time winding down. Can we get a goal? Yes, we can. Kirill Kaprizov. He had a great series so far, and we are going to sweep the St. Louis Blues in our first playoff series in a couple of years. And wow, what a performance from all our youngsters, and especially that first line too. Kunin from Dumba and Ruchin, Hodges from Richie and Kaprizov from Granlund and Ruchin. Nicely done, boys. What a great series. Corson's been a beast, and then our offense has been playing good. Our defense has been getting goals and assists. Everything is going good here in Minnesota. So let's advance a couple days to see who we're up against in round number 2. And then we'll check the player stats for round 1, and that will be pretty much it for this episode. Okay, who are we going to go up against? That is scouting assignment. I don't want to send it out yet. Come on, guys. Who we're up against? And it's the Calgary Flames. So this is the first time we've actually ever had to face the Flames, I think, in the playoffs before. So this should be a pretty interesting series. We'll check their lines after this. Well, let me just quickly save. And then we'll check the lines. Well, not the lines. The player stats for round number 1. I didn't mean to do that. Then we'll check the player stats for round 1. I think most of the offense was our first line, and then probably our third line, and some of our defense, of course, especially Dumba. I think Dumba had a lot of assists in round 1. So yeah, that first line getting it done mostly. 7 points for Kaprizov and Richie. Dumba 5 points, Granlund 5 points. Then the fourth line, Kilger 4 points, Fitzgerald 4 points, Ruchin's got 3 points, Lundestrom 2, Kunin 2, Hodges, Schultz, and Patan all with 1, and then all these other guys with no points. But still a great first round. And in Corson, 4-0, 956 save percentage, and a 1.25 goals against average. So he's starting off his first ever playoffs on the right foot. And we should have no minus players hardly. Oh, we have a couple. So the only line that seems to not be playing good is the third line for plus minus wise. But that doesn't matter because we're still getting wins as long as it doesn't bite us next round. We should be good. So lastly, let's check what the Calgary Flames lines look like. I know this episode is going to be a really short episode in comparison to the last episode, but let's quickly just check what the lines look like for the Calgary Flames. First ever time facing them. They probably have a solid team. They don't have Johnny Gaudreau, obviously, because he's apparently in Anaheim. Calgary, let's see. So Tkachuk, Monahan, and Skinner. So interesting that Jeff Skinner's there now, but Monahan and Tkachuk still there. Our former player that we tried to actually sign in the offseason, Dmitry Timoshev, is there. Scott Layton, wow. Third overall pick back in 2020. He's up to a 90. So you got two really good top centers. That's going to be a bit scary. Christian Dvorak. And then you got, wow, Jason Zucker. He's going to come back to bite us in the ass, isn't he? Jason Zucker on that third line with Sam Bennett and Colin Wilson. And then you got Tiny Holmberg with Gordy Brennan. Not a bad prospect as well. And Manny Garvin, who's also a pretty solid, good prospect, who's probably going to be... He's listed as a second line forward, and he's on the fourth line. Now, that's a mistake. Calgary's going to probably have to let him go or something. And then another former player that we had for a couple years, Jacob Slavin. Interesting. Dougie Hamilton, another 90. Madison Bowie, another former player. Wow. All these former players are playing against us. And then you got Regan, another medium elite. Wow, these guys are young and good too. Crowder and Waugh, who they picked up last year at the second spot. So this is the guy that went right before we chose Fitzgerald. Interesting. How does his stats look? Pretty solid, pretty solid. He's an offensive defenseman, so we wanted to shut him down. And in goaltending, they're weak. Tyler Parsons, 82. John Giles, 80. And then scratched, Pissick is injured actually currently, so their defense will be better. Rasmus Anderson and Michael Del Zotto. So no forwards is their injury replacements, so hopefully we could injure a top player for their team. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Minnesota Wild Gym Mode. So next episode, we'll take on those young Flames as well and see if we could get to the conference finals. That would be pretty amazing if we could get to the conference finals with this team. So thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time.